I had an interesting conversation this morning about one of our members was talking about just like she's been on this dive through like the study of the history of Christianity from way back till she's like up to the 11 or 1200s right now. And she's like, it's one thing that's really surprising is the Catholic Church didn't like start out bad. Like they were really just trying to solve actual problems. And it's like, kind of, yeah, like most of the stuff that we take for granted now is them like negatively inverting things that were solving legitimate problems thousands of years ago, right? Like, hey, we don't know how, like, we're supposed to do the Lord's Supper every time we meet. How do we do that with 300 people and it's the year 400? Like, we don't have we don't have industrial kitchens. So what do? Well, okay, we're probably just gonna have to do like a piece of a wafer and one sip of wine for everybody. And then now that became like this weird tradition, or take baptism, or take whatever. And she's like, one thing that is just like that's a big problem is I understand how monks like started doing that because the world got so bad that they felt like they had to separate themselves from the world to truly find God. But then they're just so isolated and so apart from the world, which is just so the opposite of what God intends for us. And I was like, it was like one of those nerdy, like, well, actually moments, where it's like, well, yes, in our current present day evangelical world, the chief end of man is to share the gospel. But understand on the like history of Christianity, that's relatively new. That's like within the last 300 years or so. For most of Christianity, we had missionaries that did that, and we would empower them, and churches would have missional efforts. And obviously the gospel spread, or we wouldn't be here today ranting on a podcast about Mormons. But people like understood that the chief end of man, the Winchester.
Westminster?
Thank you.
The Winchester Confession.
My brain just got completely like, from MASH. Anyway, the Westminster Greater Catechism, right? Question number 1 was the chief end of man, to glorify God and enjoy him forever. That has been, for most of Christian history, like the apex. And so the monastic order is the logical conclusion. Like, if you could, you would. Like, if you could figure out a way, that's where it's all going, if that's your ideology. So sometimes we'll read things back into history, and it's like, well, based on what I know and believe and my convictions in 2025, that's way wrong, and I can't understand how people thought that. It's like, well, put yourself back in their shoes and their understanding, and it's a little different.
Well, there's a couple of LDS missionaries sitting across from us, like across the aisle, and at some point they finished up, they stand up and they like come over to us and just kind of honestly interrupt us, to be truthful.
Her question was, did I hear you guys say that the Bible isn't authoritative, it can't be trusted? And we were like, no. Like, we never.
That's how I'm going to start my evangelism conversations. I'm just going to go to McDonald's and like, hey, how can I help you? It's like, did I hear you say that the Bible's not true?
It was an experience. That's for sure.
So good.
But I gotta say, I was really impressed by like Terry's interaction.
He's the perfect person for that, though.
Oh my gosh, he's so good. Like, he is such a studied person. Like, he's so well read. And he like,
I was like, this poor girl, Terry's here. This is over. It was
incredible. So he's like, right, because she's used to knocking on doors and like,
right.
like
no
we talked about in the
anything.
last episode, where it's like somebody's like, oh, I'm Catholic, but that's really in name only, right? Terry's like, okay, so tell me about the 5th celestial kingdom, and then or whatever. I don't know what their things are, but like he's like hitting points that they're
he's
like,
ready.
We don't even like his apologetics of the Mormon faith was like more advanced than the missionaries.
They weren't ready.
It was incredible to watch.
True. They weren't ready.
But you
anyway.
know what? At least they tried. That's my thing.
That's true.
At least they were like, you know what?
And they were persistent about it too.
Yes,
like when they were stumped, they were like, I'm not sure,
I don't know.
XYZ.
Right.
Yeah,
which is fine.
That's cool.
I mean, she did try to deflect a couple times, but they tried. Believers would never do that. Like, there's so many people out there, myself included, who would like, nah, too nerve-wracking, you never know what they're going to say, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
So...